I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey and how I got started on this self-growth opportunity, and I stepped into who I really was and what I'm really meant to do and be from the inside out. My soul self journey began decades ago without even realizing it. I grew up in a family and felt very loved. And when I became a teenager, I started to notice and I became very aware of things that were off and didn't feel right. When I was 20 years old, my parents got divorced, and I met the love of my life when I was 18, moved out, couldn't wait. From that point on, I started living my own life, my best version of myself. My boyfriend at the time, who is now my beautiful husband, and we lived in an apartment for a few years, and then we bought our first house at very young. And we wanted to adult. We wanted to grow up. And we got jobs. We went to school. I had 2 jobs, paid for myself to go to school. And then we got engaged on the beach on the 4th of July. Got married young. How old were we when we got married? 23 and 24?
25 and 26.
I think 23 and 24. I was pregnant with my son at 26. Pregnant with my daughter at 27. And in between that, before that, at 24, I opened my awesome dance studio, Addicted to Dance Company. I knew I always wanted to work with children. I had already worked and mentored children through dance. I was a dance instructor, and I wanted to open a dance studio that offered everything under the sun, that was just a positive force, and there were no contingencies on what was being taught. It was a blank canvas for children, whether you came in once or you danced there throughout your childhood, to come in and tell their story and speak from their hearts on that dance floor. And now, 17 years later, and that's still happening, which is pretty cool. In the meantime, I've lived a lot of life, a lot of love, a lot of heartache, a lot of confusion, been put in places and spaces that were uncomfortable, and I started to learn how to say no to the things that did not serve me, to the people and places that made me uncomfortable and feel some type of twisted way that pulled me further and further from who I was at the core. And, you know, my 20s kind of helped me plan a roadmap. My 30s shaped me, really, really shaped me. It unveiled a lot of people. It lifted the veil on true character and true friendship. And now, entering, as I'm in my 40s, my tribe is smaller and I can count on them. And that's important. I remember at one time having a ton of friends was such a big thing, or it felt good, but throughout all this, my family broke up. My extended family broke up. I wrote a book called Broken Open: Intuitive Power Life Coaching, and it was published in last summer, 2021. It's also on Audible, read by me. It is a great piece of a blueprint for humanity. And I would encourage anyone who wants self-growth and to continue growing, and if you feel stuck, to read it. It's definitely a guide and roadmap to living your best self. And it's very relatable and thought-provoking. So anyone on any type of walk of life is able to experience it. On top of that, Next up, my daughter was sick from a very young age, from 14 days old. She's now 12 and a half. We found out that she had a primary immune deficiency disease. And what that means is she does not make IgG in her system, plasma. And we need plasma in order to fight infection. So for the past 4 years, Ava has to infuse plasma infusions every 7 to 10 days. She sticks 3 needles into her own belly and sits through a couple-hour plasma infusion. And the plasma comes from donators all over the world. And it's such a selfless, awesome act to do when you donate and give back to humanity in ways like this, especially knowing someone who needs it in order to survive. In between all of the things, the past, I became a life coach in 2020, and here I have been mentoring children, adults, and teens my whole life in these ways. And what really inspired me to become a life coach and to go through the course was because I have a message to give to humanity, to the world. I have a lot of life lived experiences that when people hear my stories, the depth and the details, they're taken back and they just can't believe I'm still standing. Now, the past year has really, really put my family through a lot of trial. And, you know, one day, it's not my story to tell, we will be sharing the story that has been transpiring over the past 9 months. My whole point of coming on and giving you a little bit of history is that life isn't full of butterflies and rainbows. And there's a lot of mud that we have to, be pulled through. But the silver lining of it all is that we grow through what we go through. And if you are consistently living in that mantra with everything, no matter what it is, you don't get to pick and choose that, oh, okay, I accept this and I don't accept that. Having unwavering faith, that don't be afraid to tap in to your inner self. Because at the end of the day, the most important, the most valuable friendship that you can have with anyone is the one that you have with yourself. Truly, authentically, through and through. Understanding your hopes, thoughts, dreams, and really looking in the mirror and saying, I love myself, no matter what season I'm in, no matter what trials and triumphs I face. That's the key to being able to do this life, because nobody's life is perfect 100% of the time. And money does not buy happiness. So if you can align with anything that I've talked about, and I've barely touched the surface, whether you're struggling with feeling like you can't speak, that you have so much to say but your throat is just closed, or you're struggling with your career or a relationship or motherhood, fatherhood, life is hard. But we're meant to be put through things for our future selves, for our future lineage, to break lineage, to break bad habits and behaviors, and to really live our birthright, which is joy. If you can align with any of this, we need to hop on a discovery call. I'm here to serve humanity and help you step into the best version of yourself. Truly, authentically, purposefully, each and every day, even on those days when you want to stay under the covers. One more thing. When you hear something or read something or are told something, don't make it any more than what it is. A lot of times we as human beings take information and we contort it and we flip it and we make a mountain out of a molehill instead of just taking it for what it is and what was said. That's really important. What does your gut say? What's your first initial reaction or your knee-jerk reaction? Sit with that. Don't respond to that. Just sit with it and make sure it aligns with who you are, what you think, and what you feel. The heartache and the loss and the ugliness and the happiness and the joy and the fun that I've been through. I have lived a lot of life in my 40 years. So if you hang around me long enough, you're going to learn to love yourself. And that creates a ripple effect on everybody around you so they can learn to love themselves too. Here on earth, I can help you cultivate an environment that does nothing but lift you up. I will enable you to be the best version of yourself.